Could the integrated plan implementation public comment report, the consent order and the quarterly report public meeting come to order? Scott, your welcoming remarks.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Yvonne, for being here. I know Graham is on the phone. So we're here to talk about the first quarterly report for the revised integrated plan that was approved this past July. Before I get into any kind of introductions and public comments, I just want District Clerk John Myrtle to go through the ground rules in terms of the public comments. John?
Good evening, this is John Myrtle. There will be an opportunity for a public comment at the top of the agenda, and then at the end, there will be an opportunity for questions. Public comment, we ask if you keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes. I will give you a reminder, a warning as you approach, and just ask you to wrap those up. There is a sign-up sheet out front. If anyone would like to speak, if they could sign up, and otherwise, if you're on the WebEx and would like to speak, if you could use the raise your hand feature rather than just speaking up, I will recognize you and give you an opportunity to speak from there.
Right. Public comment?
Judy Allen, West Hartford. It's hard to comment on something that hasn't been presented yet. And I'm hoping and assuming that this is being recorded and would be available on the website.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Is there further public comment?
Alicia Sharamont.
Hi, Alicia Sharma at Rivers Alliance of Connecticut. I agree with Judy. It's a little bit difficult to comment on when we don't have all the information. And if the new consent order what is available on the website, I missed it or couldn't find it. But I think that's important if there's going to be a public meeting for public comment that information is available. Thank you.
Further public comment? If not, the public comment portion is closed. Scott?
Yes, thank you.
Take over.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're just going to run through, as I mentioned, Deep staff is here. Thank you very much. MDC staff, myself, Scott Chilson, CEO, Jason Waterbury, who's the Assistant Manager of Engineering, and Jeff King, who is a Construction Manager, Diversity Officer for the MDC, as well as Joe Liberty from CDM will be presenting tonight. We're going to, I don't believe we have any more than the public you've just mentioned, right, John?
Yeah, and there's some people from Deep that are on the WebEx as well.
Oh, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to answer any and all questions that arise after the meeting. If we can't answer those questions, we will provide, written responses for those questions. Because it's not a formal hearing, there's different rules and regulations we are complying with, but we'll make sure to try to answer everyone's questions if possible tonight. If not, we'll provide written responses. I would, for the benefit of the public that is here, I just want to go quickly to remind everybody how we got here. The MDC developed a integrated plan in 2018, December of 2018, and working with Deep staff and ourselves and our board, that plan was approved in September of 2022. Subsequently, after the approval of the board in December of 22, we had a lot of concerns from the public. Meetings occurred in January and February of 2023 regarding street flooding and sewer backups. We worked diligently with the legislature, the board, the deep EPA. And I have to say that I have to give all of us a lot of credit because there was a lot of hard work that occurred in less than 4 months. The original integrated plan took 4 years to approve. And with the support of the legislature, our board, deep EPA, and a lot of hard work from everybody, we actually revised the integrated plan to provide what we refer to as a community benefit. So rather than trying to eliminate the CSOs as required under the Clean Water Act, we had an agreement with DEEP to actually perform the same goals, but utilize a community benefit by using full separation to remove the stormwater from where it's initiating from, which is the homes, the businesses, and the streets. So I can only say thank you to Graham and his staff, and to our board, and even EPA. Lots of hard work went into this, and hopefully what we're going to present tonight will become the model for the future, not just for Connecticut, but for the United States, for federal EPA, because it truly is the best way to take a limited amount of resources, of human resources and funding, federal funding, state funding, and provide the best bang for our buck to benefit our community. So this is our first quarterly report. It's from July 1st, 2023 to September. Next slide. Who's ever clicking that? Who is clicking?
That was that slide.
Okay, sorry. And the next quarterly report will be in March 14th, 2024. That will actually encompass the annual report as well. So we'll kill two birds with one stone when we have that presentation. We talked about the recent changes. We're going to talk about the overview of all the projects. I want to reiterate, we made a commitment starting in March. And one of the commitments was we will be digging in North Hartford separation work by July, and the MDC achieved that goal. And it wouldn't have happened without the support of the legislature with the EPA and our board. So thank you all for that. We're also going to talk about update on key performance indicators. Those are things that we're required to comply with and report to through our consent order. We're also going to report on, Jeff's going to report on our recruitment efforts on small business and women-owned disadvantaged businesses. Again, with that self-imposed 30% Hartford resident workforce requirement, which we've never complied with, it's not required, but we're doing it anyways. And then we will talk about the integrated plans clean water surcharge rate at the end. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jason Waterbury, who's our Assistant Manager of Engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jason Waterbury, Assistant Manager of Engineering here at the district. Before I get into the gist of this presentation, I just want to go over some simple terms and definitions that you'll hear my reference or hear Joe Liberty of CDM reference. And that's one of the key things is the difference between a combined sewer and a separate sanitary sewer. Within the city of Hartford, most of the pipes in the road are considered combined sewers. And basically what that means is that all of your sanitary wastewater from your house flows into one pipe, and the stormwater from the street drainage flows into that same pipe. It functions perfectly fine on a dry day. However, on wet days, that system gets overwhelmed, and that's when we experience problems, whether it be flow from the sewer backing up into a house or leaving the system through a designed overflow point, which I'll show on another slide. Outside of Hartford, the majority of the pipes are considered separate, which means there's a separate pipe for sewer and a separate pipe for storm drainage. One of the key focuses, which I'll get into, of this new refined plan is sewer separation work as a primary objective for what we're trying to do here with regards to compliance with our consent order. And really one of the goals and benefits of sewer separation is that it does provide full protection of your basement from sewer backups due to wet weather incidents. This next slide is more terms and definitions, but the biggest one is the one shown in red, the top right. We make reference to something called a lateral or a house connection quite commonly when we're talking about the work the district's doing. That pipe or that lateral house connection is the pipe that goes from your house to the sewer main in the road. It's shown in red on this slide. It's roughly usually half private property, half public property, but it is the key point that gets the wastewater from your house to the road. If it becomes deteriorated or clogged or whatnot, that's when you start to experience problems. And one of the community benefits, which I'll get into later on, is the renewal and replacement of that pipe. As Scott mentioned earlier, we worked on a revised plan with DEEP and EPA starting in early 2023. That plan really changed the focus point from our prior 2018 plan that was approved in 2022. The main difference between the two plans is that our 2022 plan, or 2018 plan that was approved in 2022, did not include or put priority on private property work, whether it be the separation within your house or the renewal and replacement of the lateral itself. The goal alternatively was to focus on the CSOs themselves. Those are the points where the wastewater will leave our combined sewer and go to the surface water body. In response to some concerns from the public that Scott had mentioned, we revised that plan. It was memorialized in July 2023 with a new consent order. The key revisions in that were private expedition of private property work, specifically in North Hartford. For reference, we increased our spending plan between now and 2030 from $50 million to $150 million in North Hartford. We could not do this work in that manner, in that schedule, without the financial support of DEEP. In working with DEEP, we came up with a plan to treat this as a pilot to see how effective this type of approach is. DEEP is providing grant funding for the private property work. It's their grant funding and the deferral of the projects that are listed on the screen, but Scott will describe at the end, that resulted in while a no increase to our clean water project charge, even though we have a substantial increase in the amount of work that we're doing right now. And as Scott mentioned, it is our intention that this becomes our approach going forward throughout the district, where we're focusing on sewer separation work and renewal and rehab of existing infrastructure, including the laterals from your house to the road. This current slide shows what the definition of North Hartford is. And in working with DEEP and EPA and the community leaders, it was agreed upon that North Hartford would be considered the 6 neighborhoods that are shown on your screen. Essentially, it's Albany Avenue going north. However, it does go a little bit south of that, depending with the Asylum Hill neighborhood. Within North Hartford, the focus is sewer separation work, which I'll get to with the projects coming up. It's also one of the key aspects of sewer separation is it does, with that extra pipe in the road when you put in the storm drainage, it does reduce street flooding, and we do know that was a major concern of residents in these neighborhoods. One of the other takeaways that I want to get to is that the district was previously focused on CSO overflows and focused on the sewage going to the river, and we were not. It was through this revised program that we wanted to focus on what could we do to provide a quick, immediate benefit to the community while still achieving that goal. And that was one of the main, flavors and over themes to this pilot that we're working on with DEEP right now. Community benefit isn't something that I think we can define very easily, so rather than try to define it in terms, it was best to put as examples of what that really means to the public. Working right to left on your screen, the 2018 plan, which is what's referenced on the screen in a couple places, is as the original plan, only included about 50,000 feet of sewer rehab work or mainline work within the neighborhoods of North Hartford. Our revised plan is 100,000 feet more. So it's essentially 19 miles more of sewer main that we're addressing and rehabbing within North Hartford. That means 19 miles more of sewer main that is less likely to fail and collapse and cause a backup or an issue or emergency repair. Additionally, our prior plan would have only included about 150 properties where we would have done lateral renewal and replacement. That would have been of one sewer separation work. Our new plan, in trying to get to this immediate community benefit, includes 3,500 properties. And what we did was we expedited all of the sewer rehab work that would have eventually occurred within North Hartford up to the front of the program. And I'll show that on another slide. And finally, we know that the sewer separation work, which will provide that ultimate protection for homes for wet weather backups, is going to take a long time. So in advance of the sewer separation work actually occurring, we increased the funding in our backwater valve and private property disconnect program, and that's what that BWV PPID means on the screen. The original plan didn't include that focus. That's why it really says 0. The only backwater valve private property work that would have occurred would have been those requested by customers in response to a backup. We are forecasting at least 1,500 properties in North Hartford will be addressed between now and the end of 2026. And that's, again, to get that initial protection of the homes in advance of the sewer separation work. This slide on the screen shows really what the key items that we have to report on in accordance with our consent order. We do have to provide a schedule of projects either occurring or underway or planned. And we do have to provide an update on the use of our MBE and disadvantaged business enterprises, which, like Scott mentioned, Jeff will include. Now, one other note on this screen is that our consent order, or actually, in addition to the consent order, the district elected to make a commitment to at least 30% of the workforce in North Hartford would be Hartford-based residents. And Jeff will get to that, so I don't want to steal his thunder as to how we're doing on that. I'm not going to go through the details of every single one of these projects on this screen, but this is the schedule of all the consent order projects. Excuse me. As you see during subsequent quarterly updates, these projects will change from either not started to in design or in construction to being completed. The red dots on the screen are the milestones that are in our consent order. The purple dots are where we're forecasting that the project will be bid. And for those of you who want to follow along or are interested in bidding, on this slide, it does include a link to our procurement website. Now, just to put it into perspective, we're not just focused on consent order work. The district does have a consent decree. And one of the key items in that consent decree is our CMON program, which is basically the maintenance of our sewer system. One of the remaining objectives of our CMON program at this point in time is our easement program. We've got roughly 109 miles of sewer easements throughout the district. We've cleared, starting in 2020, roughly 62% of that to date. And as that progresses, the inspection of those sewers will progress, and ultimately the rehab of those sewers will progress. Some of which are even sewers that you'll see on the screen later on that flow into Hartford that also do benefit the CSO system. Additionally, one of the other main drivers outside our consent order is our sewer asset management program, where our main goal is to rehab our existing infrastructure, whether it be sewer or water, in this case sewer, in advance of a member town's paving program. The last thing that we want is to have a town pave its road, and then 2 months later we have a sewer failure and we're digging up this fresh pavement. So as part of that program, we've lined or repaired over 150,000 feet of pipe in the last 3 years. I don't want to
Point it that way.
technical difficulties. Can you drive or no? Oh. Sorry about that. It was working. Should I try again?
There you go. Nope.
Yeah, you did. Oh, no, you're good. Go to the next slide. Yeah, sorry. Okay. There we go. All right, so within Hartford, specifically North Hartford, is what this slide's going to show is all the consent order projects that we're doing. It's going to toggle through, but you'll see on the lower right-hand side, there's a legend, and that correlates to the color of the text boxes as they come in. So whether it's not started, whether it's in design, or it's in construction. The first key list of projects that we wanted to progress forward that's in our consent order is what we call our expedited sewer separation contracts. These contracts, the target was 160 homes that we provide protection up to by doing sewer separation work. And it would be done with an estimate of about 8,000 feet of storm drain. In reality, we just bid our third package of this work. And with that third package of work that was bid, we're at 279 homes of protection and a little over 8,000 feet of new sewer and storm. So we are definitely on track to meet that goal. One of the key items is that when these concepts were first conceived back in July, we had an idea of what projects we were going to do. And then through the design and talking to the public, it was identified that one neighborhood adjacent to an area we were working and goes through an area we're working was experiencing some sewer backups and street flooding. And that was the Garden Street neighborhood between Charlotte and Capon. So in response to that, we added it to the bid package of that contract. Now, the next key item or key project is sewer rehab work in the Tower Ave area. So that's basically Cleveland Avenue and north along Main Street. This includes sewer rehab work and lateral repair and renewal work of approximately 500 laterals in this area. This project started off in construction back in August and is underway right now. Most of the mainline work is done and they're working on laterals. The blue area that just showed up on your screen is the North Branch Park River area. This is a large sewer rehab work project where we're lining approximately 1,700 laterals and lining all the mainline sewers in that outline. That project was bid and will be starting off construction in early 2024. The greenish colored is the next big rehab contract where we're doing approximately 500 laterals and all the mainline work. That one is scheduled to get advertised in January, and we will be beginning construction on that work in mid 2024. And then finally, the pink area, the Gully Brook area. By the way, these names reference drainage areas. It's how our CSO system is managed and permitted. This area is approximately 1,500 laterals, and all the mainline pipe within the footprint of that pink area will be done. That's the last one. It'll be bid in early 2024 and start construction in mid 2024. Collectively, the three that I just showed will be done by the end of 2026. The yellow area that you see on the screen right now is the footprint of what we call in our drainage study. Joe Liberty CDM will get into more details of this in a couple more slides. However, this is basically the footprint of where we have to do sewer separation work in the North Branch Park River area. However, when we're doing the design of these projects, we have to take into account and figure out how to get the water from the road into the river. This is an area of known flooding along the river or known issues with street drainage in general. So in order to make sure that we don't design projects that simply just don't work or don't really satisfy the true need in the neighborhood, the district and the city jointly encountered on this drainage study. So that way the district can design its sewer separation projects to provide the backup protection of the homes and the CSO reduction, and the city can focus on figure out what needs to be done with regards to the drainage issues within this neighborhood. From that drainage study, we will get the preliminary design concepts for sewer separation contracts. The first three that we envision doing are what we call as Granby 789. That's the purple area on the screen right now. We expect that design to begin in the middle of 2024. The deadline to have the construction of these three done is the end of 2028. So this is just all of them together. As you can see, there's a lot of work going on in North Hartford. However, that's not the only consent order work we have. Like I referenced earlier, we wanted to make sure that we provide an immediate benefit to customers in advance of the sewer separation work and the sewer rehab work. And to do that, we created one program and really expedited a second one that was already existing. The program that we created was the House Connection program, where all customers, regardless of where you live within the district, are eligible for a free inspection of your lateral. from the house to the road. And then, if the lateral is needed for renewal, there is funding provided for that. The sewer backup prevention program, the backwater valve program, that's the 1,500 homes I referenced earlier. That is basically, that is something where customers are able to call in. You'll get a free assessment, and then whatever backup protection is needed at your property, whether it be the installation of a sump pump or replacement of a backwater valve or backwater valves plural, that is covered by that program. And one of the key points on this slide is the web links that are available to provide you more information, or the phone number if you are interested in participating in either program. Now, outside of Hartford, we still have consent order projects. Let me toggle, actually, sorry. It's easier if I just see them all at once. We have lining work in Bloomfield. We have lining work. Actually, this is other Hartford work. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead in my mind. We have lining work in Bloomfield. We have lining work in Gully. We have rehab work in what we call our 18-inch brick sewers. And most importantly, we have tunnel contracts 2, 3, and 5, where upon completion, the SSOs in Hartford, in West Hartford and Newington will be considered eliminated. So this is additional consent order work in Hartford, not just in North Hartford. Outside of Hartford, this is what I was getting to, previously. We have rehab work in Bloomfield and West Hartford. These projects will occur over the next couple of years, West Hartford being the first one. We expect that to be actually advertised in early 2024 with a completion date of the end of 2025. One of the key points in all of the work that you see on the screen right now is this will not only benefit the towns of West Hartford and Bloomfield, it will also benefit the Hartford sewer system, as the reduction, of extra water, groundwater, stormwater in these communities benefits the sewers in Hartford, as that's where ultimately these sewers currently flow. Additionally, the district staff are continuously coordinating with the city of Hartford. One of the key points or key coordination points that we do take part on right now or currently is, in advance of any wet weather event, district staff will go and look at and assess areas that are susceptible to frequent street flooding during rain events, and if the catch basins within those areas are covered with debris or whatnot, we'll provide notification to the city of Hartford so they can go and remove the debris from those areas. So that way, those catch basins do perform better during the rain events, and therefore ideally reduce some street flooding by increasing the capacity overall. The next 4 slides are requirements of what we need to provide an update on in our consent order. This one and the one after this is what Scott references, key performance indicators. This first one's district-wide. The second one is just within North Hartford. You'll see over time, as we go through quarterly updates, the numbers will increase on that total to date. Right now, we're just showing Q1, and we're showing all the work since 2019. And the reason we chose 2019 is because that is essentially when we started increasing all of our rehab work as part of our 2018 plan. You'll see significant increases in the next couple of years of private property disconnect work, backwater valve work, and sewer lateral work. Same thing will carry on for North Hartford, where you'll see that 3,500 homes that I referenced for laterals. You'll see that over time grow in the laterals renewed category, and the 100,000 feet of sewer work that we're rehabbing as part of those 3 or 4 contracts I mentioned on a prior slide. You'll see those numbers show up on this slide. Now, this slide and the next slide are the last of the consent order metrics that we have to report on with regards to really how our CSO system is performing. This slide focuses on CSOs N2 and N4. Those are the 2 CSO regulators that are located within North Hartford, within the Granby area, essentially. the key metrics that we use to really measure our performance of how we're doing with regards to our consent order for CSOs is we assess it with regards to 3 different storms, or 2 different storms depending on the location. One is the 1-year storm, which is a storm that statistically would happen once a year. The next metric that we work with DEEP on as far as how we're performing is what we call a typical year. A typical year is an average year with an average spread of small storms and big storms. It was one that was selected years ago when we started our regulatory work back in 2006. And it's been our measuring stick ever since. It's how we perform in that typical year. Now, the 2 CSOs on the screen, they discharge to the North Branch of the Park River. The North Branch of the Park River is a Class A water body. So because of that, we are required to eliminate those CSOs. So the metric that we use for that is what we call the elimination storm. The elimination storm is Hurricane Tammy. It is just for reference, it is the 3rd largest storm in the last 104 years, really, since record keeping started in 1920. Only the hurricane of 38 and 55 are bigger. So these are not goals that we're expected to meet between now and 2030. These are goals that we're expected to meet over the course of our whole entire consent order program. So over time, as we progress with sewer separation work and rehab work, you'll see these bar charts fill up with the progress to date getting bigger. The last of the CSOs that we had to report on in our consent order are the CSOs in the Gully Brook area and the North Meadows area. The only key difference between these and the ones on the prior slide is that they do not discharge to a Class A water body. So therefore, the requirement in our consent order is that 1-year storm. So that's why you only see the metrics for the 1 year and the typical year. And again, as the rehab work in these areas and the lateral repair work in these areas and the sewer separation work in these areas progress, you'll see these numbers increase. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Joe.
All right, great. Thank you, Jason. My name is Joe LaLiberty with CDM Smith. CDM Smith is the program manager consultant for the Metropolitan District on the Clean Water Project, and we are also leading this North Branch Park River drainage study. So I know the North Branch Park River has been talked about a lot over the last, say, year or maybe more, and so we wanted to just talk about why, in fact, we needed to do this study in order to determine how best to do the sewer separation work that was in the North Branch Park River Drainage District, which includes like the Granby area. It's basically the Blue Hills area. So as Jason had mentioned earlier, basically when the city of Hartford was built, and like many cities across the country, they were built with one pipe in the street. And that one pipe would take both the sewer from your residence, so your bathroom, your shower, or whatnot, but it would also take the storm water from the street that you see that on the street that goes into the catch basin with the grates. And that one pipe, referred to as a combined sewer, would then overflow to a receiving water body, in this case, the North Branch of the Park River. So with separating the area, basically what we'd like to do is build the area like it's built today. So if you were building a new development, it wouldn't be built the way it was built 100 years ago. You'd build it with 2 pipes in the street. One would be dedicated for the sewer from your home, and the other would be dedicated for the stormwater from the street, as well as any stormwater that you have on your private property. And so when we talk about separating, we need to build another pipe. So in this case, in many cases, it needs to be a stormwater pipe. And that stormwater pipe needs a place to go. It needs a place to discharge. And in the case of the Blue Hills area, which is in the North Branch Park River area, it discharges to the North Branch of the Park River. And what's happened over time is the North Branch of the Park River has sediment buildup from streets. So when you see the catch basins like Jason showed earlier, where it was covered with leaves, it can also be covered with trash or water bottles, or it could be sediment from the street. Basically, a lot of times that gets into the catch basin where it shouldn't go, but it winds up getting into the catch basin. The hope is that we could clean the catch basin out from that debris, but oftentimes the debris makes its way to the pipe in the street, the combined pipe, and then makes its way to the stream. And that's where the sediment that is in the stream comes from. It actually comes from the catch basins in the street, discharging it to the river. And then also there's a number of downed trees, so storms, pesky beavers, whatever it may be. There's down trees and branches from high wind that is blocking the river from flowing the way that it was intended to flow. So basically, the North Branch of the Park River needs attention. The two bottom pictures, the bottom left picture is the picture of the N4, which is a combined sewer overflow outfall. It shows it during dry weather where you can see that you can see the actual outfall going to the river, and then you can see where there's debris in front of it. That's the debris that we're talking about. The picture on the right is during a rain event. So on the left, it wasn't raining. On the right, it's during a heavy rain event. That is the same location where the outfall was, but the outfall is completely submerged. So it makes it very difficult for the water from the street, say Granby Street, to get out to the North Branch of the Park River. And then the result is in the top picture there, you can see flooding. That flooding was on Granby Street. Anybody who's from that area is well aware of this. The image on the right shows the North Branch of the Park River. It's basically just west of Mark Twain Drive. So these buildups and blockages, they contribute to the street flooding that you see on the streets, and that's why a study was needed to find out what needed to be done to the North Branch of the Park River, which was the City of Hartford priority, as Jason had mentioned, and also the study is needed to determine how best to separate the area by putting in a new stormwater pipe. Where should it go? What elevations? Where should it discharge to? And that study was funded by a 55% grant from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And the balance, the 45% balance, was split between the City of Hartford and the Metropolitan District. And if you want additional information on the study, there's a link that was provided on the slide to provide additional information. So a little update on where we're at with the study. This is through Q3, so the end of September. So at that point, the river assessment was ongoing. We basically walked the river to determine, how was it, where was there sediment, how much, where were the blockages. We have since completed it. So when we go and report in March, we'll be talking about how in the Q4 we completed the assessment. And while we did that, we identified, and we've done, both the MDC and the City of Hartford have done some short-term improvements that were identified and actually addressed. The first one would be the picture in the top. It's the picture of a 96-inch storm pipe. That pipe is actually located right near the Weaver High School on Granby Street. It's just upstream of there, just downstream where there was some prior significant flooding on Granby Street. And what we found is that the pipe was completely blocked, or nearly completely blocked, with trees and branches and debris. We found it while we were doing inspection within the pipe. It's a 96-inch pipe. So put that, I'm 6 feet tall. It's 2 feet taller than me. So it's a very big pipe. So then what the city did is they immediately hired a subcontractor to go ahead and clean the pipe. There's still some more cleaning to be done, but they have improved the situation where it hopefully will abate flooding going forward in that area. Another location was we found some areas where there's down trees, and that's what's shown in the middle pictures that have been identified. The city had removed some of those down trees in the past over near the Scarborough area. There's some additional areas that likely will be identified and recommended within the report that'll be coming. The third bullet is the Durham Street Sewer Separation Project. That's one of the projects that Jason mentioned, but it is in the North Branch of the Park River area. It was a particular street that the MDC was able to prioritize and move forward with ahead of the study because it had a direct discharge to the 96-inch pipe, but we are cleaning it so now it can take the flow. But that work is already under construction, and it should actually be completed in the next month or so. And then the last bullet is the North Branch of the Park River basically enters what's called the Park River Conduit, massive conduits. There are 2 conduits that each are 22 feet wide by 22 feet high. And what you're looking at in the picture in the bottom is the entrance into these massive culverts. And in front of the entrance into these massive culverts, you see about 4 feet of debris that is blocking the water from getting into those culverts. And at the time that we had, again, this is through September 30 of 2023. At that time, we had identified it and let the city know. The city has since, in Q4, cleaned that debris out and improved the situation. So there's been a lot of short-term improvements just from doing this investigation on both the MDC and the Hartford side, which is great. We've completed flow metering. Basically, we put meters inside both the sanitary sewer, the combined sewer system and the drainage system where it existed. So we're trying to find out what are the flows within those pipes and are determining how best to separate the area. Where should we put the new storm drain? How should we connect it? Do we need another outfall? You know, what needs to happen for separating the area? The conceptual design of the sewer separation is underway. So basically, you know, we're going to prioritize that Granby 7, 8, and 9 that Jason had mentioned up in the northern corner of the North Branch of the Park River, so that we can begin design in midway through 2024. The study should be completed at some point during 2024. And that's it. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff, who's going to talk about the disadvantaged businesses and outreach and the Hartford labor workforce.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Jeff King, construction manager and diversity compliance officer. So, in order to, as Scott said, you know, never before has the MDC taken on a goal that 30% of all of the hours worked on the projects in the north end would be completed by Hartford residents. So, you know, because this was a new initiative, we had to hit a lot of areas and hit them at multiple times and on different fronts. So we had to first, you know, locate the qualified contractors, then start going to events to promote the work that we're doing. And then we started building a workforce development program to start bringing all these components together. So the first thing that the procurement department did was reach out to solicit SBE, MBE, and WBE contractors. The small businesses, the minority businesses, the women businesses, all those fall underneath the disadvantaged business umbrella. So with the partners that we reached out with, the MDC did a registration clinic. So we teamed up with Connecticut Apex Accelerator. They are previously known as PTAC, which is a Procurement Technical Assistance Center, the National Association of Women in Construction, NAWIC, along with the University of Hartford, and the CCIA, which is the Connecticut Construction Industry Association. So on those two dates in Q3, August 16th and September 20th, we invited contractors to renew their applications. We assisted new contractors with recertifying their applications, and all because there was a new SAM.gov process where there's a federal government requirement where you had to go on SAM.gov, register for an ID, and then you would take that ID once you were approved to then register at the Department of Administrative Services to get your SBE, MBE, or WBE status. So we did a lot of work reaching out to contractors to make sure we could get the best group to start working on the projects that were rolling out very fast. So while we were doing, you know, all of this, helping the contractors register, we were also soliciting bids. So we held a couple pre-bid meetings at our Maxim Road facility. We actually went to the city of Hartford's WBE, MBE list to look for contractors who are qualified to do plumbing work through the House Connection program and backwater valve work, to make sure that we could get those contractors that are city qualified over to the Connecticut side of it and get their DAS certification so they could comply with regulations. So between the city of Hartford's website and going on the Connecticut Department of Administrative Services vendor search, we were able to bring in new contractors and reach out to contractors who are already in the database. So, I mean, overall, we thought this was a great success. Even if contractors did not submit a proposal, all the seats were filled and every contractor ended up being on this CTDAS vendors search so that they could even get projects from other places in the future. So our communications department, led by Julie McLaughlin and Nick Salemi, did a great job advertising these RFQs for the backwater valve and the House Connection program through publishing these invitations through those local publications. So you have the Inquiring News, the North End Agent, the Hartford News, and the Hartford Current. Next slide. So the second part, after reaching out to all the contractors, was really getting the message out there. as Scott would say, planting a lot of seeds. So we're looking at this through like an MDC Seeds of Partnership, where we were recruiting local labor, and I'll get into this later, but that turned into more of a work development program and a lot of partnerships. So on this slide here, you can see all the events that we attended in Q3, which was the Minority Construction Council's annual networking dinner. That was held at the AquaTurf with a lot of contractors from all over the state and sponsors. So that was a great event to meet new candidates and existing contractors, to let them know about the new programs through the Backwater Valve and House Connection package, which Joe and Jason went through in detail. So the MCC also has member meetings. We attended those through Zoom. We also attended the Greater Hartford African American Alliance weekly meetings held by Stan McCauley. You also have Commissioner Holloway who attends, CHRO, Alvin Bigham attends, Colin Dawkins. There's even some educational people there, Dr. Maya Bowen. So we were able to go to those that meeting and really give an update on all the different opportunities that are out there, let people know that we're looking for contractors to bid, let people know that we're looking to network with students and people looking for jobs in the city of Hartford that are Hartford residents. We also went to the Front Lines Job Fair event that was held at the Yardgo Stadium, where we were able to take in resumes for people looking for jobs at MDC, for basically jobs that were advertised on our website, in addition to getting resumes so that we could matchmake with contractors who we met when we were having these registration clinics. We also, through that event, attended the Department of Labor's Veterans Hiring event, and we met a gentleman by the name of Ted Carroll, who is the Employment Committee Chair at the Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association. Ted ended up inviting us to St. Francis, St. Francis had a job fair on campus, and Ted Carroll invited us to that, where our HR department and myself attended, and we promoted the job opportunities for the House Connection and Backwater Valve program, as well as employment opportunities at MDC. So initially, we had reached out to some local community organizations that have experience doing workforce development. Knox Inc., formerly known as Knox Park, is a well-known nonprofit. They've helped the city of Hartford really restore their tree canopy. We met with the Knox Park to let them know what our initiatives were, and they were great in strategizing with us on how they ran their summer work development program, so we could get some really great ideas. Through all these events, we actually met a gentleman by the name of Jeff Cathcart, who ran the high school construction career exploration. So that was done underneath the Connecticut Pre-Apprenticeship Program. And that was a program that Jeff Cathcart ran, where he actually met a Hartford High School student by the name of Nathiba Cooper, who ended up joining the Laborers Union. And he ended up working actually down in the South Hartford Conveyance Tunnel. And I want to say he probably made about 6 figures, since that was a 3-shift job and he was working double shift. So that was where we started the workforce development, but it actually grew into something different. So next slide, Jay. So I'll go back to what we were saying, how we were looking for the contractors, then we were going out to market and promote the opportunities, and that's how we started shaping this 30% Hartford resident workforce goal. We were able to, through all of these events, start matchmaking contractors and residents who we received resumes from, and we were able to hire 4 Hartford residents in Q3 through flagging companies and some of our prime contractors like VMS, Bovair Plumbing, Paramount, and Coastline. And we had about 10 Hartford residents who called in looking for jobs. Some didn't have much experience, but we were able to mentor them and let them know of what they could do in the meantime, so that if any new opportunities would pop up in the future, since we were rolling these jobs out very fast, we could have a pool of candidates that were either getting their OSHA 10 class or getting their confined space training, or getting their CDL license. So these events turned out to be really great. And through all these events, we ended up learning about the state of Connecticut's work-based learning program, and that was run through all of the technical schools, the Connecticut Technical Education and Career Systems. So there's about 17 or more schools throughout the state of Connecticut, but we wanted to really start at a point that would bear the most fruit. So we reached out to the work-based learning coordinator, Brent McCartney, who then started putting out some feelers in the summertime before school started at EC Goodwin, AI Prince Tech, and Howell Cheney Tech for students that would be in the plumbing program or maybe in the bioscience degree, for opportunities that could pop up at our wastewater treatment facility for internships. So one of the programs that MDC has right now, which we are growing, is the Learn and Earn program. So over the summer, we were able to bring students out to various locations to see lateral lining on Farmington Avenue, do tours of the treatment plants in Bloomfield, Rocky Hill, or Avon, and we were also invited to the MCC's career fair at AI Prince Tech in the summer of July of 2023. So throughout that process, we started to now expand the Learn and Earn program, where we developed 5 entry-level positions at MDC, which came out to be utility maintainers, wastewater treatment operators, and water treatment operators, as well as control technicians, and I did say utility maintainers, but this is actually when we started thinking, big picture, where we could develop a workforce development program at MDC, have the contractors and all the partners that we're meeting work with us together, so we could start creating events where we were taking in more students, training them, and at the same time having our contractors come in so they could meet students as well. Next slide. So in Q4, these were all the events that we started to get on the books, and we'll talk about this in the next quarterly report. But we ended up going to the Minority Construction Council's Construction Expo matchmaking event in Bloomfield. We were actually recognized as an alliance partner, and you can see here we were at the ribbon cutting event. Through working with Brett and Jeff Cathcart, we also teamed up with DOT, Sherry Pratt, and we orchestrated a Hartford Public High School mini job fair. So we can report back next quarter on that. But we had our contractors that we worked very closely attend, so they could talk to students about opportunities that would jump out while they're doing all this work for us in the north end of Hartford. And then again, we didn't want to limit the registration clinics to only 2 times, so we ended up having another clinic in October and November that we can discuss how that turned out. And like I said, this the seeds of partnerships turned into recruiting local residents, and that morphed into more of a work development program. So we actually submitted a grant to the EPA for a work development program at the amount of $645,000, where we can start to now grow the ideas we have by bringing in more partners and bringing in more students and contacting more schools, so we could get more resumes and bring in students to train them on various things that our operations department does. So we'll get to that in Q4, but we just wanted to basically broadcast the events that were set up. So right now, I think we're doing a pretty good job with the Hartford resident goal. We're currently at 33%. All the hours, which amount to 4,720 hours, 1,600 of those were from Hartford residents. So looking through the certified payroll numbers, I want to say we have about 8 Hartford residents that are working, and about 11 non-Hartford residents that are working, that make up that 33.9%. As far as our MBE goals, next slide. These are all state requirements, by the way. We have a 3% goal for MBE, and we have a 5% goal for WBE. We are currently dollar-wise exceeding the MBE goal at 5%, and we're slightly under our 5% goal for WBE at a little bit over 3.5%. So in order to get all this work done, we have a lot of outreach that needs to happen. Jason talked about all the projects that we're jumping off in the north end of Hartford, all the different studies that need to happen through the North Branch River, and Julie McLaughlin and Nick Slemy, who head our communications department, they do an awesome job getting out project updates, and we do that in various ways. We have meetings that we're holding and that we're attending, so we make sure we let the public know of that. Another way, when we're hitting large areas, we do mailings so that we can let the overall community know what we're doing in the area. And then we also do a more door-to-door approach. So when projects are starting, we go directly to the property owners and stakeholders who we're impacting, so we can talk to them one-on-one and keep them up to date throughout the process. So, just like the workforce development and the different events, outreach definitely takes a lot of community partners as well. So we, in the Durham Street area and other areas, we actually set up workbenches, tables, and we would do that in the morning and in the evening. We would have our contractors there, we would have the engineers there, we'd have MDC construction managers there, and really let the community know we're here to answer any questions, really give them a hands-on A to Z approach on how we would be doing these separation projects and what they could expect as far as impact to their private property. We also participated in the local NRZ meetings and also community group meetings like the Greater Hartford African American Alliance. And through those, partnerships, we were able to, while we're out in the field, educate residents on the Comp Controller's flood compensation program that Blue Hills Civic Association was helping administer, so that residents could know how to better protect themselves through our backwater valve program, but also how they could seek compensation through the state's programs. So because there's so much outreach to be done, we also went out there with some RFPs and ended up hiring 2 community-based outreach consultants. Janice Fleming, she helps us do more outreach as it relates to the NRZs and the local community groups. And Crane Moody, Moody Consulting, they do a lot of outreach as an extension of the outreach team here when we're doing more door-to-door notifications and getting permission forms so we can actually work on private property. So again, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of moving pieces, and we're advertising and getting that information out through our website, social media, and our YouTube page. So we have a dedicated North Hartford sewer improvements section on our website that shows weekly updates and gives overall education on what the long-term control plan is and what the actual North Hartford projects are all about. If you want to visit our YouTube page, there's great videos that Nick and Julie and their consultants spent a lot of time putting together. They vary from what a backwater valve is, what avalorium is, what the long-term control plan is, and it does it in a way where, my sister always says, tell me twice and tell me like I'm 5. So these videos are cartoony, they're 2 to 3 minutes, but they're very engaging and informational, so you can learn what the MDC is doing and what all these projects are really about. And again, the website, there's a lot of social media posts, and press releases. It could be something as simple as imposters that were going through the community and knocking on doors since they know we're out there. We do many press releases on various topics to keep the community abreast of anything and everything that we're dealing with. So again, Nick and Julie do a great job by updating our website and reaching out to these local newspapers to advertise any events that are happening from the community outreach standpoint. So without with that being said, Scott, you can
Yeah.
take over and close out for us.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to reiterate, I can't express how much work the people in the audience and our staff that aren't here tonight or on the phone have performed to get us to where we are. I mean, we started construction in July, and we self-imposed a number of things we didn't have to impose on ourselves. Almost everything Jeff talked about was exactly that. But to really understand, I don't believe there's another utility, in my opinion, in Connecticut or across the country that could have done what MDC staff have done. And it was with a huge support from our board and DEEP staff as well, working together. So I really commend everybody, because we can't even express how much work has gone into since July to get where we are here today. This slide is really important. Through all of our negotiations, discussions with DEEP and EPA and the community and the legislature, the one thing that we tried to emphasize is we want to provide a community benefit that may not directly impact the CSO at the river immediately, but solves the same problem, just might take a little longer. But the one thing we're very grateful of is what we have proposed to DEEP, and they have fully accepted and fully funded our proposal, was to do all this private property work to eliminate the stormwater at the source, as I mentioned earlier. But spending $50 million in North Hartford over a 10-year period, now $150 million, how do you pay for that? And with lots of grant money from DEEP, which is awesome, from the state legislature. But we can't do something in North Hartford that we're not going to provide the same benefit to all of our customers. So we had to consider those, if we're going to provide private property work, new laterals to residents, private property in North Hartford, we recommended to our board, and the board fully supported it. And we told DEEP, we need to make sure that whatever we do in North Hartford to provide a community benefit doesn't financially impact the same customers we're trying to protect, which is in North Hartford. So how could we do $150 million worth of work in North Hartford and then charge the residents of North Hartford more money under the Clean Water Project? This graph has been shown on numerous occasions. It changes over time, but this is what was proposed in the 2018 timeframe, updated in 2022. So in September of 2022, the approved integrated plan, $50 million in North Hartford, we were proposing to follow this graph. And this was what the clean water surcharge would be to all of our customers. Add in $150 million, we needed grant money. The state gave it to us. That helped a little bit. It helped us stay along that graph. But the problem was it wasn't enough. So what did we do? We put our thinking caps on and said, if the real goal is to do full separation, if this pilot is successful and we remove the inflow and infiltration, the stormwater that's getting into the system at the home and at the street, if we're right, we won't have to build big tunnels anymore. So what the first step was, we said and agreed with DEEP, let's push the downtown tunnel, which was supposed to start in 2038, let's push it right off the map, which push it right off the integrated planning process, and it's well beyond 2050. So hopefully the goal is we'll never have to build it, because separation will achieve the same goal that the tunnel is supposed to achieve. The other challenge was all of these laterals, millions of dollars of laterals that were, yes, great, we're getting 50% grant in North Hartford, but we also had to provide the same service to our other customers in other parts of Hartford and the other 7 towns. So there's an expense and a cost to that. We agreed with DEEP finally to say, let's take some projects, about $300 million worth of projects, and push them outside the schedule of phase 1. So outside of the next 10 years. And that allowed us to provide free laterals to everybody, which is roughly a $10,000 benefit. Provide all this private property work to our North Hartford residents and businesses, all without increasing the clean water surcharge rate that we proposed in 18 and finalized in 2022 in September. And just as an example, and it's on this chart, and you may not be able to see it, but the planned rate for 2024 was planned to be $4.43. And the rate that was reviewed and approved by the board for 2024 is $4.33. So we actually were able to stay under the rate structure that was planned and scheduled to be imposed in 2024. How? Because the state of Connecticut stepped up and gave us 50% grant for all of this work in Hartford, North Hartford. We gave free laterals by ordinance and approved by the board for all of our other customers. And then we shifted the tunnel and we shifted $300 million worth of work. The next slide just identifies those projects. Probably the most concerning project for everyone who's been involved in the Clean Water Project at the MDC since 2004 is the Weathersfield Cove. So our responsibility, we've done a number of projects to address overflows to the Weathersfield Cove. We have a remaining project that we have to do, we call Contract 4 for A, 4B. And that's going to be the project that eliminates overflows to the Weathersfield Cove. We have committed to DEEP that by the end of 2027, we will have a drainage study done so we can assess what we have to do to achieve that goal. So again, I can only say thank you for the chairman, Mr. DiBella, our commissioners, DEEP, EPA, our staff. I really, I'm so proud to be part of this organization because no one else could have done this. And I do think that everybody in this room has had a major part in that. We have many ongoing initiatives, and there's many ways to stay informed. You have the website here. Go to an NRZ meeting. Very important to be part of those meetings. The quarterly reports, as we mentioned, second Thursday of the months of March, June, September, December. And with that, we're done. I think that's pretty good. So I think the next round is for questions and answers. And again, we'll try to answer them tonight. And if we can't, we will provide a written response to those questions later on. So yes, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Again, I'd like to thank the staff specifically on such an effort. The board is so proud of the work that was done, but Scott's being very humble here. Without him, we could not have accomplished the time schedule, the work schedules, and what we've achieved in Hartford in terms of employment that we've been struggling with for, what, 10 years to do? So I have to say that not only staff, but the leader did a phenomenal job there.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, John, you want any questions or?
Yeah, is there anyone in person that would like to ask questions? And if there's anyone on the WebEx that would like to ask some questions, if you can use the raise your hand feature, I'll be able to recognize you that way.
Judy Allen, West Hartford. I'm sort of disappointed. I was hoping to hear more about specifics of the integrated plan. I don't know where to find that. And there was a slide with a chart that had yellow bars going across, and a comment that you wouldn't go into the details of that. That's what I wanted to hear, the details of that. I want to know the dates and where you are on those projects and what the expectations are. You're doing a wonderful job, no doubt, but it's those details that I want to see. In terms of what DEEP requires and what it doesn't require, with the disadvantaged businesses, there was something I thought that they did require. You may be doing above and beyond that. But I think that was part of the agreement with DEEP. I don't know how much of the agreement with DEEP actually ended up in the formalized integrated plan. So I'd like to have more details about that. And specifically things like the backwater valve projects, the dates in the integrated plan where that's supposed to be completed. I heard information about some general, we'll be ready in 2026 or whatever, but I'd like it pinned down more to understand more specifically about where you are with the integrated plan. Thanks.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just to answer Judy's question quickly, we do a Wednesday meeting. We've been doing it every week since we started this process. I just informed staff, I gave them a Christmas present. We're going to go to bi-weekly because they're doing such a great job. But we can easily provide anyone with a copy of that weekly update, and that has more detail to it by project. We also are required to submit on January 1st a monthly report to technology and the technology and environmental committees
Legislature.
at the legislature, and that will be able, and that's a monthly report, so we'll be able to provide you and anyone from the public with that. That'll be posted on our website, and so make sure you have that, Mrs. Allen. But we will get you the 2-week look ahead. There was a lady from on the at the meeting last week where she had asked some details, and we included her. What was the name of that organization?
Third Act.
The Third Act. She had asked for some details, so we've included her in the CC list so she gets an update. We can do that for you as well. And then, yes, no, I understand. We'll have, we will put that, the information that I mentioned, the 2-week look ahead is on our website. But the annual, the monthly report that we're starting in January, that'll be on our website, but we will provide that available for everyone who would like it. What other question did you have? I'm sorry. Okay, so we can also provide you with a copy of that. It's detailed, but we can provide you with a copy of that. Okay. Great. So.
And I see Joe Magdal on the WebEx. Mr. Magdal, I just sent you a
Yeah,
request.
I'm trying
See if
to turn my camera on also.
speak up.
Can you hear me okay?
If you could speak up, you're kind of quiet.
Yeah. Is better?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to hear something about the MS4 permit, which if, for those listening who may not know, this is a separate discharge permit for stormwater that certain municipalities hold. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that in the case of Hartford, it's the city and MDC that hold that permit jointly. The permit requires regular street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. And I'd like to know how MDC and the city are complying with that. And this is particularly important and I think speaks to some of the points that your consultant from CDM Smith was making about, for example, the inlet to the 22 by 22 inch culvert being that they found that it was clogged up with debris, and it seems like under the MS4 permit, that sort of thing should not be happening. That shouldn't be accumulating over years and years. It should be attended to on a regular basis. So that's what I'd like to hear about, if you can.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, through you. So this is Scott Jocelyn, CEO. So the MS4 permit is not part of the consent order, but I agree with you that it is, a very important component of street flooding and component of this topic that we're talking about. We are working, we just had a meeting with EPA, and we're scheduling a meeting with the city to work out the details of an MOU, which would clearly define roles and responsibilities under the MS4 permitting process, which would go specifically to street cleaning and cleaning of catch basins. So we're working with the city as we speak to try and get those details worked out. We agree completely, and I think the city would agree that keeping the streets clean, keeping the catch basins clean is a it's a baseline for trying to mitigate street flooding. So we're committed to that, and we're going to make sure that that happens throughout 2024.
Is that something that you can report on through your website or through these quarterly meetings?
Scott Jellison again. Actually, it'll be part of our monthly report to the legislature. So we're going to make sure that because MS4 is not really part of this consent order requirement, but it will be part of that monthly report. So the progress of keeping, the whole purpose of keeping the street clean and keeping the catch basins clean under MS4 has really got nothing to do with street flooding. It's got to do with water quality discharging to the streams and rivers of the United State of Connecticut or United States. So, but it does have a major impact on localized street flooding. So the MDC and the city are committed to making sure that right now, honestly, the permit is under the name of the city of Hartford, and we agree that that it needs to be a co-application. Presently, it is not, but we're planning to make it a co-application, and then the MOU will define roles and responsibilities amongst ourselves in the city.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Further questions?
Is there anyone else that would like to ask questions? Anyone on the WebEx?
Another hand up.
No, it's the same. It's the same guy. Okay.
Okay. Alicia, did we answer all your questions you might have had regarding the overflows, N2 and N4?
I don't believe I had specific questions about N2 and N4, but I was glad to see that they are still they're still going to be eliminated.
Correct.
That did make me very happy.
Great.
Okay,
All right.
good work.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Hoffman, thank you for being here. And do we have any commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
And Commissioner Curry.
Oh, Commissioner Curry. Thank you, Commissioner Curry. Well, thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.